My horse, Bonded Spirits, has been announced for release in 2024, and I made a video on it, so if you'd like to get to know the game a little bit, I suggest checking that out first. This is more of an update video, and they have released some updates for the game within their devlogs, and I want to speak about some of the topics that I've been seeing, plus my own opinion. Before we get into today's video, remember that your opinion is yours solely, and it is valid. But please remember to be respectful in the comments. For those who don't know much about the game and are too lazy to click on my other video, the very explanation is: begin your adventure as a reluctant future heir of a stud farm. Prove that you are more than just a spoiled brat. Start from scratch and learn how to keep and manage a stud farm. It will be a challenge that will prove incredibly rewarding. Return the stud farm to its former glory. Along your journey, discover that nothing is as lasting as the bond with your horses. I can tell that this will either be somewhat exciting or very confusing. Seeing games recently give us horsey content that isn't really horsey content and just the Wikipedia slapped into a game is quite discouraging. So I do hope they embrace the horse community with well-deserved terminology and gameplay. A lot of people say that you can't exactly expect a developer to know everything about horses and expect them to put everything into realistic terms, but if you're going to be creating a horse game, don't you think they should know a little bit about horses? This is obviously not going after this game because it's, not released. We don't even have like a bunch of spoilers yet. There's just a few devlogs out, but I'm saying in general, I'm so tired of people... Be quiet, phone. I'm so tired of people saying, oh, well, maybe the devs just don't know a lot about horses. Then maybe don't pick a horse game. Devlog number 1 premiered on May 16th, soon after I posted my original video on this game, roughly 3 months ago. Here they spoke about landscapes first. As we've already mentioned, we plan to give you a full freedom of exploration during your horse's rides or strolls. And for that reason, we want the ambient nature and landscapes to become a breathtaking sight. In addition to the magnificent views, your entire stable area awaits you. We don't want to give away all the secrets and details of its appearance just yet, but we'll let you have a sneak peek at the player's magazine. They did give a quick reminder saying, keep in mind this is a very early stage of production and we'll keep developing both graphics and models. Still, we'd love to hear your honest opinions, ideas, and suggestions about the objects, places, and areas. It is nice to hear a dev team say we value your feedback because we are going to be the ones purchasing the game, but I'll be talking about this later on why I'm kind of skeptical of them saying this and how they did this whole announcement/trailer. Devlog number 2 premiered late June, this time talking about the different stages of your future stud farm. The process of fixing up this old stud farm is rewarding both mentally and visually. As we've previously mentioned, when you start playing the game, you become the owner of a... I'm sorry, I haven't heard the word dilapidated since high school. I just had a moment. As we previously mentioned, when you start playing the game, you become the owner of a dilapidated stud farm, and your task is to bring your place back to its former glory. The experience would be lacking without an ability to restore your buildings, upgrade their looks, and achieve a high-end stud farm with your efforts. Therefore, all of your buildings will start as old, neglected structures you'll be able to upgrade. Level 1 is the basic condition of the building you'll encounter at the beginning of your journey. As you can see, it's old and needs restoration. It's been left unattended for a long time, and every aspect of the building requires your attention. Used up materials, a simple building structure, lack of any kind of decorations. But everyone has to start somewhere, so let's not get too discouraged and move on to level 2. After a while, with enough money and materials, you'll be able to perform the first renovation. Even though the simple shape of your stable remains, the exterior walls get painted, roof truss was given new materials, and you can also notice the main entrance was given simple wooden ornaments. The interior was given a paneling in 4 different possible colors. On this level, the building looks tidy, well kept, but at the same time it's simple and still has room for improvement. That's why we present to you level 3. The final version of the stables is different. The entire structure got altered, receiving a new, more complex shape. New extended roof and openable 2-part doors instead of windows provide you with a more organic experience. On top of that, we've given you 4 coloristic variants of bricks to let you alter the looks of your stables even more. As for functions, the stable provides you with a few horse boxes and a storage room where all the accessories necessary to take care of your horses are kept. I absolutely love the idea of working for upgrades on the barn on top of the other portions of the game, and I'm excited to see future designs if they're offered. Games with good customization, whether it's a house, barn, or just property, they really do have my heart. I can play them for hours, hence why I have so many hours on Sims 4. We're not going to talk about it. Devlog number 3 was posted just recently, and they showed a lot of progress. They start off with future possibilities of gameplay. Ever since your arrival at the stud farm, you'll have to start building trust and strengthening bonds with your horse. To achieve that, you can interact with your magnificent friend in various ways, such as combing their hair, petting, and feeding. Keep in mind, these are only few of the possibilities. As for the rest, well, we'll let you find out on your own. I'd kind of like to find out from the Steam page before I purchase the game, you know? That's kind of the reason for the Steam page being there. With all of this being said, the combing the hair, feeding, and petting, I really do hope that they give some realism into that, because when you groom a horse, you don't just comb their hair. You have to do so much in order to get your horse groomed down and ready for riding, or just to keep them clean. I'm sure anybody who even goes to the barn and helps with horses, not even owns a horse, but helps with horses, knows how thorough sometimes you have to be with horses. This means cleaning their hooves, sometimes bathing them, using multiple combs to get all of the dirt out of their coat, especially the horses with the floofy coats. And there's a lot that goes into just the cleaning process of a horse, let alone the feeding, the details of horse feed. Not to mention, this is going to be a stud farm. A lot of stud farms, you'll see them feeding their horses different types of feed to make sure that they're healthy and that they're fit, because studs, if you don't know what a stud is, it is a stallion that is used for breeding. So of course, if you want to breed your mare to a stallion, you'll want him to be healthy and ready to go. So the idea of us having a stud farm and then not really having a lot of realism off of that, I'm a little bit curious on that. I don't want this to be misunderstood as I want any realism in the breeding area. I completely understand that nobody wants their kids seeing that and they would rather just have that side of the internet cut off. I understand that. I agree with that. I'm not saying I want realistic breeding stuff. I'm saying I want realism with the horses. Of course, a game may not add all of these, but I'm speaking more on variation and possibility than amount. So quality over quantity, you know what I mean? On to riding, which I have a good bit to talk about. Shortly after completing your first few tasks, you'll start raising your, I think they meant riding skill, but it's spelled rating on this for some reason. You'll start raising your riding skill by venturing into the open areas around your stables. Trotting is not the limit when it comes to what you can do together with your steed. Gallop or even jumping over the obstacles are also possibilities, but those are skills you'll have to learn together. Learning comes naturally through practice and repetition of different activities such as riding, jumping, etc. They continued on by saying, remember that your horse, although strong and admirable, can also get tired. That's why you have to keep a close eye on its level of stamina, fullness, and overall fatigue. Don't neglect this aspect because this is the only way to ensure your horse is healthy, full of energy, and keen on exploring and learning new riding techniques. After achieving a certain level of your riding skills, you'll be able to take tours on more demanding routes, at the end of which skill points will await. Face the challenges, as those points will undoubtedly help you develop your stud farm. You can also earn experience points through completing quests available for players during map exploration. We've also spotted a suspicious building nearby. Perhaps you got any idea who lives there? So a pretty thick devlog. I'm happy that they're giving us so much information in one devlog. A lot of times with logs that devs type up, it's just like a little update like, hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Just like a little update of what they're doing. It really depends on the dev team. Some dev teams are smaller, so you can expect a bigger devlog, whatever. I'm sure we'll be getting more and more as time progresses, but I do worry about the development at this point. The horse and the rider, they look interesting. I usually don't talk about this with such early design. The one thing I've learned over time of just looking at games, playing them, reviewing them, all of that stuff, it doesn't really matter what size a company you have, they can still easily produce an underdeveloped release, which means the game isn't quite done, they rush it, they think it's done, they think people will buy it, and then it ends up getting straight up blasted online. The horse itself almost looks plastic, and the player looks like a Wii character, and it looks like it's staring into my soul. But a lot of times games produce filler models whilst they work on the permanent one. I'm sure the horse is temporary because the eyes, I can't look away. One question I do have is, where did the player and horse from the trailer go? I am sure they used rendering and animating for the video, but how do you go from the image of this to this? I am not trying to sound pessimistic or rude, but more realistic. We've been leaning on so many horse games in development, and a lot of them end up being disappointing due to the false advertising. If a game company came forward and said, hey listen, we tried guys, here you go, I would be a little bit more lenient, but a game company coming forward with a full out trailer showing the gameplay, and then the gameplay and the screenshots isn't really matching up, something's a little suspicious, it is a little disappointing. They gave us an animated and professionally rendered video, which is where the beauty of early access and reviews come in. But what about the people who listen to others and purchase a game and end up realizing it wasn't as advertised? It's not that big of a deal, but it defeats the purpose of a cool trailer if the game looks nothing like it. This is a little bit off topic, but I swear it adds up. Do you guys ever see those ads for those games and they're like really cool mini games and then you download the game and it's nothing like that? I'm just a little nervous in that aspect. The thing I am most excited for so far is a combination of quests and riding, and also the landscapes, which I saw in the photo of the devlog. It looks relaxing, so I'm hoping it is optimized before my PC implodes on the first day of playing. I do know that this game is not released until 2024, and a lot of progress can be made by then, but I am hoping they do take community input from both their Discord and from Steam. I wouldn't rely completely on their Discord for the game because the channel designated for the game is basically just spam and people fighting. It's a little bit interesting. This is a controversial topic and I feel like I'll get a few comments about this, but I do want to point out that a lot of people, when talking about horse games they want, reference to games like Skyrim, The Witcher 3, and Red Dead Redemption 2, which ironically are all games that don't revolve around horses. Of course, The Witcher 3 and Red Dead have a lot of horse content and relevance, but they weren't made for an equestrian representation or solely for horses. Yet I have seen more realistic and lovable horse content from RDR2 than any other game meant for horses. So part of me wishes that this game improves, and another part of me knows deep down that it may not. I do want to give my best wishes to the developers as they are working on the game, and I don't want to seem like I'm trampling their hard work at all. So one last thing I wanted to talk about, which I feel like would be interesting for people who are either somewhat educated in this or have researched a lot like I have, the idea of a stud being trained and a stud not really being proven yet is a little bit interesting to me. For example, when you think of a stud, which is a stallion used for breeding, a lot of times people don't just say, yeah, that horse right there, the untrained one, the green one, the one that doesn't like a rider on it, yeah, I want that one. His foals are going to be amazing. Like, you don't really hear that often. I'm not sure if that's common to just use a stallion that hasn't really been trained or you haven't really seen their temperament, because I do know that one of the common practices is if a stallion is uncontrollable and the owner consents to it, they usually get them gelded. This is one, to make sure that they don't reproduce because they don't want to foal from them, and two, a lot of times when stallions are gelded, they calm down a lot. Now, this isn't assured. I mean, I'm sure a lot of stallions that are gelded are still crackheads. I'm sure people will agree to disagree with me on this, but remember like the whole rival stars thing? You're returning the barn to its former glory, and there's also breeding. It's revolved heavily around breeding horses to higher standards, and this just doesn't give like stud farm vibes. Of course, I'm happy that they're adding like the ability to change up your barn, fix it up, but I really wish that they would have thought through the process of stud farm and what that means, because when I think of stud farm, I think of showing a horse, getting its earnings up, and making sure it's ready to have babies, then training its babies up. Like, I think of rival stars basically in essence. That may just be me on that topic, but I'm still a little bit confused about that. Like I said, there's probably a lot of updates to come. I hope we see a little bit more of a promising devlog very soon. I'm also very curious on what you guys think of the game. Are we liking it, disliking it? Too early to tell. You don't have to agree or disagree with me, but I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. Also, if your comments don't show up immediately, just know YouTube has been blocking a lot of comments and I have to go in and manually approve them. So I promise I didn't delete your comment. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you deleted my comment. I don't delete comments. It needs to be approved. YouTube hates me. Anyways, with that all being said and done, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Stay healthy and safe and hydrated, and I will see you in the next video or stream.